me more about everything is that he has a big mouth. He talks a lot of stuff, and I know understand that this is gonna happen. And sometimes people are gonna get under my skin, but
David vents his frustration with Morell, calling him out for his big mouth and constant trash talk, fueling tension between the two. Demetrius Andrade talks about the Benavidez versus Morell fight, calling it a 50-50 matchup. He says Morell doesn't have the same experience as Benavidez. Andrade points out Benavidez's long arms, making him hard to hit. He also notes Morell's punches are wild but could improve with experience.
One or two of his fights, I was like, okay, he's a big kid. He got some decent speed, but he's a little wild with his punches. That comes with experience, of course, when he'll start tightening it up. Is he tight right now to be able? Because David does have a good. His arms are long. Listen, his arms are long to me. You know what I'm saying? Morell's bigger than me, so he might have long. But when you're throwing punches at him, his arms are so long, it's so tough to hit him, especially if you're coming off wide. You got to really pinpoint the shots with David. I don't know if Morell has that in him.
Jesus Ramos mentions that Morell is talented with good amateur experience, but still needs more pro experience. He showed frustration in his last fight. He needs to face more seasoned fighters to get better at handling tough rounds.
But I just feel like he's lacking the experience, that Benavidez already has. He fought Andrade, he fought Caleb Plant. Those are tough guys, man, and he beat them. And Morell, he's extremely talented. He's got a lot of amateur experience, but I still feel like, I think he kind of showed it in that last fight where he needs that pro experience.
Jesus says Morell needs more pro experience, especially against tricky fighters who can take him into later rounds. He gives the edge to Benavidez, thinking he'll win in the later rounds, even if Morell starts strong.
He needs a tricky, cagey guy to take him some rounds, because he got a little frustrated there, in that last fight. So I still feel like he lacks that experience. And I feel like Benavidez has been there and he has done that. So I think that I give the edge to Benavidez in that aspect. And I feel like Morell might come out strong, but I see Benavidez edging that out in the later rounds.
David says he's been training hard and that this fight is the kind people want to see, with real animosity between the fighters. He feels it's a big fight for him, probably his biggest so far, and that the tension makes for a better story.
I've been, training extremely hard, and these are the type of fights I want, because these are the type of fights that people want to see. They want to see real animosity, and they really want to see two people that don't like each other go against each other.
David mentions that the tension in the fight is real, and both he and his opponent genuinely don't like each other. He believes this makes the fight more exciting, and that it's a great opportunity for him, as it's one of his biggest fights yet.
It's been going good. Even on the promotional side, it's even better because none of this stuff is fake. Yeah. I really don't like him, and he doesn't like me, and that just it makes for a better story for the fight. And yeah, man, this is. But at the end of the day, I kind of have this attitude. I feel like I kind of have to have this attitude towards everybody, because at the end of the day, everybody's trying to come in there and take what I have, and I'm not going to let that happen.
David talks about how his Morell trash talking got to him. He usually stays calm, but admits that sometimes things get under his skin. He understands this kind of stuff happens and accepts it.
Me more about everything is that he has a big mouth. He talks a lot of stuff, and if you see me, I really don't get out of character a lot, but it's fine. Sometimes I understand that this is going to happen. And sometimes people are going to get under my skin.
David talks about how his experience in high-level fights will help him in this upcoming match. He mentions he's been in with tougher opponents before and can go hard for 12 rounds. His volume and intensity grow as the fight goes on, and he's confident he can break down his opponent's style.
Boxers that move around a lot, that try to use the whole ring, and I've fought with brawlers that just try to sit there and brawl the whole fight. So I kind of know, I already have a game plan. I know exactly what I need to do. It's just for me to really establish my game plan and then just stay committed to the game plan. And I feel like once I do all my game plan right, the knockout is going to come on its own.
David adds that David Morell is a tough fighter with good movement and a jab. He believes once he gets inside, he'll dominate.
I'm very excited. I'm very motivated. I know exactly what I could do. I know David Morell, he's a tough opponent. He moves around a lot. He boxes. He has a good jab. He has long arms. But at the end of the day, none of that is going to mean anything. Once I get inside and get my offense started, there's not going to be anything he could do to stop me.
Benavidez talks about almost canceling the fight with Morell because there was no testing for weeks. He kept asking when testing would start, but they kept saying next week. Once he threatened to cancel, Vada showed up the next day. Benavidez also mentions that at the press conference, Morell seemed shocked when steroids were brought up, and his trainer quickly took the mic from him.
Testing 14 weeks out. Andrade, same 13, 14 weeks out, start testing. Because they wanted to test me because they said I was dirty, supposedly. Or if they thought I was doing cocaine or whatever it is. I tested, I did whatever. So then when I get this fight with David Morell, you know, we knew about it months before, like 4 months already. I had told them, you know, I'm not asking stuff that hasn't been done, but when are we gonna get the test? They kept saying next week. Until I told them, I'm like, bro, well, how the f are we not testing when I heard that he takes steroids? And, you know, we're already on week 9, no testing. I told him, bro, I'm gonna cancel this whole fight.
Benavidez highlights how unusual it is that Morell wasn't tested regularly, especially with such a big fight coming up. He feels it's important to have proper testing for high-profile matches, and the lack of it raises suspicions.
When I was talking, when I brought up steroids and said what I just told you right now, Morell took his glasses off, in my opinion, in a form of shock. Like, oh, he just said that. And then Luis Cuba Sr. grabs the mic, gets up and starts yelling. And then after that, they left. That already, for me, if somebody tells me I'm taking steroids, I'm speaking up right away. Like, man, I'm not taking no steroid. What are you talking about? David Morell didn't say shit. Luis Cuba Sr. took the microphone away from him and he started talking for him. You know what I mean? I don't know what they were planning, or they have some sneaky shit going on, but they're not going to play that with me.
Benavidez points out that he's been tested over 30 times, but Morell hasn't been tested as thoroughly. He finds this suspicious and feels something is off, especially given the importance of the fight.
I'm getting tested every single week, but if I would have let it be, what if something would have happened and then on the 3rd week, oh, now it's bad at test, you know what I mean? And this is what these people do, bro. They take steroids in week 8, week 9. They train, their shit's flushed, and by the time they get to week 3, they bring in the testers. Oh, now it's time to test when there's no steroids in there no more.
Morell addresses the accusations, not directly responding, but making it clear that he doesn't make excuses. He doesn't engage in the suspicion others have raised about him being a clean fighter.
They do because they haven't fought against anybody that's really at their level. And when they do end up about to face someone at their level, then they start to say things like that oh, the doping this or something else that's, you know, like beyond the pale.
David Morell says he and his team don't make excuses. He thinks other fighters who haven't faced top-level opponents make excuses when they fight someone like him. They just can't handle the challenge.
The pale. And then because it's a no-lose situation for them, where if they lose, they say, oh, it's doping this, doping that. If they won, oh, I was just the better fighter. So I would just tell them, train as hard as you can, train strong, because, you know, that's all you're gonna be able to do against me. And in the end, the better fighter is gonna win.
Morell says that when fighters face real competition and lose, they blame things like doping, claiming it's the reason they lost. But if they win, they just say they were the better fighter. He sees it as a way for them to cover up for their lack of preparation or skill when facing someone at a higher level.
Lo que pasa con ellos es que toda su vida están adaptados a pelear con boxeadores que no le exigen. Y cuando llega uno que verdaderamente le exige, pues la única excusa que tienen es esa, que si es doping, que si pasa esto, que si pasa lo otro. Y luego cuando tienen miedo también empiezan a sacar como que a buscar excusas de todos lados, como iremos en Cuba, poniendo el parche de que caiga la botera. Para en todo caso que pierdan, no, hay que hacerle prueba de doping, hay que hacerle prueba de esto. Si gano, no baneo porque soy el mejor. O sea, son estrategias que ya están pasadas de moda, pero bueno, nosotros no tenemos excusa.
Sana Agbeco points out that even though there were concerns about PEDs, Morell wasn't tested before their fight, but he was. He's questioning why Morell's team wasn't tested and why they didn't push for it. He suggests there might be something fishy about it. He also says the boxing system is messed up, with businessmen more focused on making money than making sure the competition is fair.
There is some sort of sense of suspicion.
Of course.
Yes, of course, there is a sense of suspicion because of, I mean, the thing is, even in the fight in Vegas, he had acne all on his back, on his face, and everything. And Benavidez fought Jose Benavidez. He was present when I fought Morell in Minnesota. So, of course, you know, these were concerns that I brought up, I raised with, and he actually was in my corner, was in my locker room as well because he had Valenzuela at the time fighting Chris Colbert. So we had, you know, we really had a good time, a lot of time to really talk and, you know, really get to know each other. And I brought up that issue at the time too. And I think that he's very well aware of what, you know, being on enhancements can do for you, and that's why he's very much concerned. And
David Morell talks about his upcoming fight with Benavidez, saying it's been a long-awaited matchup. He's all in on giving 100% in his prep. While he respects Benavidez and his team, Morell makes it clear there's nothing personal. It's all business in the ring.
You know, right now, so my message is the present, not the future. I mean, right now I'm focused on this time. I have a long time in 20 counts, so I'm focused right now. You know, everybody watch me. Everybody know me. And 2 months in the house. So now it's 4 months. I have a surprise.
Jesse Hart is pumped for the February 1st fight between Morell and Benavidez, calling it huge for the division. He plans to watch closely and notes that Morell showed some weaknesses in his first 12-round fight, especially with fatigue in the later rounds, which Hart thinks could give Benavidez an advantage.
I want to see how David Benavidez performed at 175. He looked like he was about 200 and something pounds. He looked like he was about 220 at the face-off when I seen on Premier Boxing Champions. That guy didn't even look like a fighter. No athlete should ever get that big, ever, in history of his boxing. That's laziness, that's inactivity, and that's just, I don't care. I'm gonna eat what I want, a bunch of tamales and beer drinking. He had a beer belly, ladies and gentlemen. That was a beer belly. I'm not looking there. Every time you see Jesse, him lean, mean, and cut up in great shape. I will never, that's not how fighters supposed to carry themselves. That's not how champions supposed to carry themselves. Dave Morell, I'm looking, have he grown? Can we get him, that last fight, I seen a lot of weaknesses in him, a lot of weaknesses. I'm looking at have he grown from that fight that he went 12 rounds for the first time in his ever career.
Caleb Plant breaks down the styles of Benavidez and Morell. He describes Benavidez as aggressive with strong combos, while Morell is more strategic and calculated. Plant's excited about the potential fight, thinking the style clash will make for an entertaining matchup.
You know, their styles are different. Southpaw, right-handed, you know, one puts their punches together very well. And so does David Morell, but he's a little more crafty. Well, he's a little more maybe passive in his approach. You know, I'll say that. And but that's a big fight. You know, that's one I'm excited for. So.
Tim Bradley thinks Morell's still too green. He wasn't impressed with Morell's last performance and doubts he's ready for top contenders. Bradley favors Benavidez, pointing to his ability to switch between pressure and effective boxing.
I think Morell still needs a little bit more seasoning, to be honest with you. I wasn't too fond of his last fight.
It's part of why I really was Benavidez. Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't too fond. You know, Benavidez can do a little bit of everything. We only see him as being a pressure type of assassin type of guy, you know, throwing quick combinations and really, you know, just stepping on the gas and squashing guys. But, you know, he can move and box if he wants to as well.
Lorenzo Simpson talks about the timing of the Morell versus Benavidez fight, saying both need a big match to build their names. He mentions Benavidez's style focuses on non-stop pressure and fast, high-volume punches.
One of them fights that the fans deserve and boxing fans deserve.
Is this like an early version of like Better Bevo's, like catching them like 5-6 years earlier?
Yeah, only reason I feel like it's early because I feel like neither one, they both need the name. They both need the big fight, and it's not gonna happen no time soon. Like nobody else that they fight is gonna have a name. So them two is available. So I feel like they're doing the right thing.
Lorenzo says Morell can punch too, so the fight won't be like most. He points out both can KO each other. He also notes that Morell would fight differently against Canelo than he would against Benavidez.
I think he has the counter a lot, but I think Morell can punch like him, so I think it's going to be a different fight that y'all see all the time. Like when two people can punch, you can't be like just throwing all, you feel me? You can't be throwing all the shots that he usually throw. He can get caught, you know? Like if he was to fight Canelo, I don't think he would go in there with all them shots. You know, so I mean, it'd just be great to see styles match up and see what they can do.
Steven Espinoza compares the Benavidez versus Morell fight to Beterbiev versus Yard, calling it unpredictable. He sees both fighters as evenly matched, skilled, and in their primes, with no clear edge for either.
I sort of look at it like the same way I looked at Bivol Beterbiev, not stylistically, but Bivol and Beterbiev are going to fight 100 times. And every single time, it's going to be a close decision. It just, that's the way they're always going to be. We'll see what happens in the ring, but I don't think there's anybody who can decisively say what's going to happen in that fight. I mean, they're two young, strong, skilled guys, in the primes of their careers. So I think they're as well positioned to take this fight. There's not really anything in either guy's background that you can point and say this will be the deciding factor.
Leonard Ellerby says this is a real 50-50 fight. Morell is strong, aggressive, and won't hold back. Ellerby thinks this fight is important for David's career and his rise in the sport. He adds Morell has wanted this fight for a while.
Right. Well, yeah, David's always been that guy. He wants to get in there with the best. And he wants to stay active. He wants to fight these guys. He's a fighter's fighter. And nothing but the utmost respect for him. But this fight right here is a true 50-50. This one's because he got a kid, not a kid, a young man that's in front of him that's coming to bring it. He's not going to sit back and be cute with it, and just wait to the late rounds to hopefully he get tired and now he coming to get it.
Bozy Ennis talks about Benavidez versus Morell. He says Benavidez is aggressive, throws lots of fast punches, and wears opponents down with volume. Morell fights smart, Cuban style, but hits hard and isn't afraid to engage. He thinks it'll come down to who takes control first, since they both have different strengths.
I'm fighting you.
Yeah.
And don't mind, that's why I'm saying it's who get to who first, man. That's right. And so you got to remember, Morell's a puncher too.
Yeah.
Now, Benavidez will beat you with, hurt you and stop you with accumulation of punches. So you put them two fights together, man, you got a hell of a fight, man.
Bozy says both still got to adjust to 175. Moving up affects how they perform, and it takes time to adapt. Thinks they'll be better this time since they've had more time to get used to it.
You have to get used to that weight. Some people are just natural. You can move right up there and take care of, certain people in that weight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then you got some guys, you got to adjust. You got to adjust their body for that. You know what I mean? And that's what it looked like to me with them two. Look like they got to make more adjustments to their body at that weight. So this time when they fight, they should be all right then. Because they broke the what you call them, the water barrel, whatever you want to call it. They you know what I mean?
Lonnie B gives props to David Morell's skills, pointing out his good footwork, smooth offense, and strong power. He thinks Morell's speed and counterpunching could be tough for David Benavidez, who's all about size and power to dominate.
Tough fight. David Morell is really good. He's really, really good. He's good. I can't even. He's good.
You're kind of giving me a face like you don't know who wins that fight.
Yeah, I don't. Because David Morell is big too. He's big for super middleweight too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's big. He can punch. He's slick. Real got that Cuban style. What he Cuban?
Yeah.
Like real slick.
But offensive with it.
Offensive with it, and those styles are tough for anybody to fight.
Dimitri Bivol is not sure how the Benavidez versus Morell fight will go, but thinks it's an exciting matchup and gives Benavidez the edge. He wasn't totally aware of their intense face-off, but said some short clips showed Morell's solid fighting skills.
To be honest, I didn't see anything about this fight, but I know Benavidez. I saw a couple of short clips of Morell, and it's an interesting fight.
Yeah. Steven Edwards recently called David Benavidez a monster at 168 pounds. He pointed out Benavidez's power and agility, saying he showed them in the ring against two of Edwards' top fighters.
He's way too big to be fighting 68 pounds. I've been around. He's a big guy, so I'm very, very impressed with him. But a lot of the guys he's been fighting are so much smaller than he is where he doesn't have to go into his bag of tricks and rely on other things like his IQ and things like that.
Bob Santos acknowledges Benavidez's impressive skills and versatility, but believes Morell has the potential to stand out and maybe even become the next Roy Jones Jr., potentially changing the sport.
You never want to try to compare people too much, because sometimes, LeBron James is going to be the next Michael Jordan, so on and so forth. And maybe I'm guilty of that too, because I was like, David Morell is going to be another Roy Jones Jr., right? But I do believe that. I think he's a superior talent. I think he's head and shoulders above everybody else. I think David Benavidez is a tremendous fighter. I mean, the first time I ever seen him, and he was working out, and I was fortunate enough to be around him and his father while they were training and be brought into one of his camps. I was like, wow, this guy's like a savant. He could just do everything.
Paulie Malignaggi thinks Benavidez and Morell should fight at 168 pounds instead of 175 to keep pressure on Canelo Alvarez. He suggests both should warm up at 175 before taking on top fighters like Bivol and Beterbiev.
It's a matchup that's solid. The weight class that happens, that really matters to me. If are they going to stay at 175? I think if they're going to fight each other, they might as well make it at 168 and keep their foot on Canelo's neck, and then make it more obvious that he's ducking either one of them. If they make the fight at 175, it has less luster. It's still a good fight. To be honest, I think both guys could probably use one or two more fights at 175 before they take on the winner of that monster fight between Beterbiev and Bivol.
Teddy Atlas talks about why the Benavidez versus Morell fight is both interesting and risky for both fighters. They're both undefeated and have solid amateur backgrounds. Morell comes from the Cuban national team and has had a fast rise, even winning a world title in just a few pro fights.
Very dangerous fight. Both of them were terrific amateurs, undefeated as pros. I mean, Morell comes from the legendary Cuban national team. In the Olympics, everything else. He won a world title in a short period of time, like only a few special fighters have.
Teddy points out that both Benavidez and Morell are taking a big risk. They could wait for easier, bigger fights, but they're choosing to fight each other. He thinks not many fighters would do that at this point, but both are stepping up and showing they're ready to take on tough challenges.
That have the future in front of them in their career, and they're taking a risk. They're both taking a big risk. That's what, for me, that's what makes this fight so special. Their talents, their undefeated records, what's at stake, right? All of that. But that they're taking a risk when a lot of the fighters wouldn't. They'd say, no, I'm going to wait for a bigger fight. I'm going to, not a bigger fight as far as danger, but a bigger fight as far as maybe a payday or, whatever it could be.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Drop a comment below with your thoughts, and we'll see you in the next one.